The movie begins with the main character, Brad, who is a pilot, walking through the airport and talking to his daughter on a video call. He tells her that he will finish his work and come to see her soon, to which she becomes happy. Brad then heads to the pilot's cabin where he meets his colleague, and the two pilots start talking about themselves. Brad is then called out by an officer who informs him of an emergency. He must take a powerful person named Tony, who is a killer, with him. They give him this responsibility due to his sensibility, and he agrees. He meets the rest of the crew, and they discuss the passengers, whether everyone has come or not. As soon as all the passengers come and sit in the plane, they immediately take off. Brad tells his fellow pilot that he loves his daughter very much and is going to meet her soon, stating they have no one but each other. They keep traveling in the plane until night, when suddenly the weather starts getting worse. Brad looks worried because he was not feeling well and tells all the passengers to fasten their seatbelts. Through the radio, he also tries to talk to his center, but slowly all the radios stop working. Suddenly, a sharp shock of electricity comes from the plane and hits them, causing the plane to start moving. Brad goes to check on the passengers and breathes a sigh of relief because all the passengers were fine, and here the light was slowly turning off. In the middle, the plane is hit again, causing Brad to fall and injure his head. All the passengers were in a bad state now. Brad comes back to the cabin and starts taking care of the plane with his companion, which was a very difficult time for them. The radio was not working, and on top of that, nothing was visible in front of them on the screen. Then Brad says that they have to bring the plane down because if another shock is applied, the plane will be destroyed. So they immediately start taking the plane down, and all the passengers were scared. A woman then opens her seatbelt, and seeing her, Tony's officer also does the same. Because the plane was going down, they hit hard from the top side so hard that they immediately die. Suddenly the plane starts coming down quickly, but Brad and his companion quickly control it. The air hostess tells Brad that the passengers are in a bad state, so he asks to manage everyone and ask them to sit on their seats because soon they are going to land at a nearby airport. Now they see that they are passing over an island, so they decided to land the plane on an island they deemed suitable. Despite having landed in an emergency, they landed safely. Brad and his companion were relieved when they discovered that there was still some electricity left in the plane. Brad instructed everyone to exit the plane. Meanwhile, the owner of the plane company noticed that the plane had suddenly disappeared since he hadn't seen it land, and he couldn't establish contact for a long time due to radio damage, causing him to appear tense. The air hostess then informed Brad that the officer who brought Tony had died, making him sad, but he asked her to take care of the other passengers. When the passengers asked why they landed on the island, Brad explained that it was due to an emergency. He assured them that they would receive food, water, and accommodation until they could leave soon. The plane company's manager met with a rescue expert who would help find them and requested details about the plane, its workers, and passengers. Brad began fixing the plane, but the power was low, and the radio wasn't working, so they needed to wait. When Brad told his partner pilot this, they realized that they were on a private island controlled by a private army of criminals. Brad knew they had to call for assistance before any harm was done. He informed the passengers that they would go to the other side of the island to locate another radio and request a rescue team to save them all. He released Tony from his handcuffs and took him with him. Later, a man reported to the head of the private army that a plane had landed on their island in an emergency, and there were many passengers from various countries aboard. The head of the private army gave him money upon hearing this. He instructs his team to prepare themselves for potential danger from the people who might have landed on the island with looting intentions. Brad and Tony walk through the jungle, and Tony asks Brad why he freed him and where they are going. Brad explains that he couldn't risk everyone's safety because of Tony's presence and that they were heading to a dangerous private army. However, Tony stops talking abruptly, and Brad turns around to find that he has vanished. Meanwhile, the rescue expert is busy gathering information about the plane when he sees a video of Brad fighting with another passenger. Impressed by Brad's skills, the rescue expert contacts a private company leader and tells them to be ready as they may require their assistance. In the jungle, Brad finds an abandoned factory and discovers a radio machine that he fixes to contact the helpline. Unfortunately, the person on the other end can't hear him due to some issues with the line. Brad then asks the person's daughter to write down the details and inform his office. Suddenly, a man attacks Brad, but he overpowers him and renders him unconscious. While hiding, Brad hears someone entering the room, and to his surprise, it's Tony. Tony had killed some goons and taken their weapons to help Brad. After taking some weapons, they both leave the factory and come across a camera, which reveals that the private army captures people who arrive on the island and demands money from their families in return for their release. Realizing that the passengers are at risk, Brad and Tony set out to rescue them. Upon reaching the passengers, they hear gunshots and discover that the private army is approaching. The head of the private army asks the pilot for the passenger list, which the air hostess provides. He then inquires about Brad's whereabouts. The pilot informs him that Brad went to the jungle for some work and has not returned yet. Hearing a woman trying to escape, Brad rushes to help her, but Tony stops him, warning of the danger ahead. The goons start putting all the passengers on a bus while their leader instructs two companions to retrieve valuables from the plane. He then takes the passengers and leaves with them. Brad expresses his anger at Tony for not allowing him to rescue the passengers, but Tony explains that they were outnumbered by a dangerous army. They soon catch two goons trying to take valuables from the plane and interrogate them about the passengers' whereabouts. The goons reveal that the passengers are being held captive in an empty factory nearby. Meanwhile, the rescue expert learns about the situation from Brad's daughter and informs the owner of the plane company. They send a private team and rescue team to the island to save them. After reaching the island, they find the plane with two dead bodies and a message left by Brad directing them to the factory. Brad and Tony sneak into the factory, where they find the goons making videos of the passengers. They kill two goons and enter a secret room where the passengers are being kept. Tony goes into a rage and kills all the guards with a hammer, and Brad frees the passengers and tells them to gather at the plane. He informs them that he has called for help through the radio, and the rescue team will be arriving soon. The passengers board the bus, and Brad and Tony prepare to leave. Tony informs Brad that there are many goons standing outside, making it difficult for them to leave. Brad decides to distract the goons while Tony takes the passengers to safety. He comes out and talks to the head of the goons, but they begin to attack him. The private team arrives just in time and starts attacking the goons. They manage to kill a lot of goons and rescue Brad and the passengers. Brad tells the private team that he mistook them for the rescue team and thanks them. However, the private team informs him that they are not a rescue team and that they still have some time before the rescue team shows up. Brad comes up with an idea to fly the plane with the help of the private team and leaves the island immediately. Brad fixes the plane with the private team leader's assistance, but the goons attack them again. The private team uses their good guns and kills many goons. Brad tells the team leader to give him 5 minutes to start the plane and take off. He then thanks Tony for his support. During the gunfire, Tony runs out of bullets, and when he checks the private team's bag, he finds it full of money. But for now, he leaves the money and starts fighting the goons after taking a gun from the other bag. By then, Brad has turned the whole plane. The private team also starts climbing the plane. The owner of the plane company tells Brad that he knows a safe place where they can go. All the people get on the plane, but Tony does not. He starts running away with a bag full of money. When the private army sees him going, they attack his plane. Their leader attempts to bring in a rocket launcher to take down Tony's plane mid-air, but Tony is alert and shoots him down before he can succeed. Seeing this, Brad is very happy. He successfully flies the plane away from the island, while the owner of the plane company tells him about the nearby airport where they can land. Brad heads towards the airport, but unfortunately the plane starts getting destroyed again, and he has to make an emergency landing. Once their plane lands, they begin moving forward through the jungle to safety. Everyone's life was saved, and they were relieved. The owner of the plane company and his team were also very happy. Brad and his companion take a breath of peace, knowing that they had come out of that island, and everyone's life was saved. In a while, their rescue team arrives, and all the passengers are overjoyed and clapping for Brad's bravery. Brad sends all the passengers with the rescue team and talks to his daughter, who is very happy to hear from him. Both the daughters were thrilled to talk to their father. Thus ends the story of Brad's bravery. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. I always love hearing from my viewers, so feel free to leave a comment below with your thoughts on the video or any suggestions for future content. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.